Thank you for joining Christine Crockett-Smith as she shares insights and parenting strategies from her gold medal winning book, 18 Master Values, Be the Parent You Wish You'd Had, a great resource for peaceful parent-child relationships.
Hello there. Thank you so much for being here with me, whether you are live or whether you're watching this later. We're here today to talk about some of the values in my book, 18 Master Values, Be the Parent You Wish You'd Had. And I want to take a minute to thank my producer, Anna Xavier, to make sure I don't forget to do that because she's amazing and I couldn't do it without her. Thank you, Anna. And my guest today is Eric Hanson. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. You want to tell them just a little bit about who you are as a parent?
I'm Eric Hanson, and I am, 47 years old? And I have one daughter. I'm divorced as of about 9 years now, 8 or 9 years. And I have one 12-year-old daughter named Georgia.
Georgia, I love that name so much. And Eric is here today. We are going to talk about pride and fortitude. Two really interesting ones, although I say that every week, I think, because I think they're all interesting. But anyway, we're going to start with pride. Is that cool with you?
Sure, yeah.
Cool. So the chapter on pride has been one of the most controversial for me as I've been out in the world talking about it, because a lot of people who were raised with a religious background were taught that pride is not a good thing. And I actually kind of mentioned that in the book, that I get that in that context.
Sure.
But what I'm talking about is teaching our kids to acknowledge their strengths, because when they're able to say to themselves what they're good at, then that helps them know where to focus their attention, in my opinion. Do you have any thoughts about pride and teaching it to kids, or specifically Georgia?
Oh, yeah. I think about that with Georgia a bit. She is an artist. Her mom introduced her to art and had a little art table for her when she was about one, I guess, maybe a little over one. And everyone thinks that I'm the one who influenced her to be artist, since I have that background. But no, it was her mom. And by the way, the thing I like most about what she taught her is how to clean up after herself. Yeah, which is hard for artists.
Big points.
Yeah. So anyway, Georgia she just liked drawing, and I always noticed she was paid attention to details and stuff like that. Even before she was drawing, she just picked up on little details, and that's kind of how I can be. But she started drawing a lot. We were just going through the divorce. She'd come over when I had her, and she just drew all the time. And she was like 2.5 or whatever. And so they wouldn't hold up to her standards today.
Sure.
But as a 2.5-year-old, they were fantastic. And she didn't have any inhibition. And something that I was careful not to do would be, there's always the, well, what is that? That's that people say, oh, don't say that to your kids. Tell me about that. It's the right way to do it. But something else that I was careful not to do is correct her. I never corrected her. If I really didn't understand what was going on, I might ask for some clarification. But I never corrected her, just because at that point, I figured it doesn't matter. Just let her have fun. So I don't know that it was some skill that I was exercising, like, this will be good for her if I don't criticize
Somehow
her.
It felt intuitive.
Yeah, it's like, just don't worry about it. Just let her enjoy herself.
Good for you. Lucky Georgia.
But she would draw, and we'd go, wow, whoa, that's really good. And sometimes we were genuinely impressed, because we just, all when she was a baby and couldn't talk, I was like, I wonder what's on her mind when she's babbling. It turns out it was stars and puppy dogs and kitty cats and rainbows and stuff like that. And so drawing is another thing. What's on your mind? And just comes out. And I was like, oh, I had no idea she was, that kind of stuff was in her mind. Or this is great stuff. It's interesting. And I would have never guessed it coming out of her. So anyway, we'd always encourage her. And I say I was at my parents' house during the divorce, and so oh, wow, that's really good. And I hope can I stand up and show something that she would do? Is that going to screw up with the microphone or whatever? I'll just do that. Okay. So every time she'd show us her drawing, she'd get excited about it. And while we're looking at it, she'd stand by the table and do this. And just get she was just so enthusiastic. And I always joke that, she's going to be 40 and having her first art show, and there's going to be a table nearby, and while people are complimenting her on her work, she'd be bouncing up on the floor like that. And she just did it reflexively, but she was proud of herself. And, and yeah, that can go too far. I mean, I had a bit of that when I was, actually all the way through college and maybe even into adulthood to some degree, I'm the artist. Of all my peers, I'm the artist. So, of course, I'm going to be the best one because nobody else is even trying, right? Everybody knows it. And that led to some disappointment later in life when I found out, wait a minute, why did this person in my art class get a better review from the teacher than I did? That's not right. Mine was so much better. And I still think that was the case, but I shouldn't have just automatically assumed I was going to be the best all the time, because there's other people who have practiced as much as me or more maybe. And it wasn't until I was an adult that I realized, oh boy, man, I'm just going to shut up because I'm not going to tell this person that I'm an artist, a graphic designer in that case, because I'm embarrassed to show them my stuff compared to theirs. Theirs is amazing. So I got a little bit of humility later on. But that is I guess a risk of, having too much pride, is that you shut out the possibility of others being better. It kind of reduces the need to improve sometimes, because, well, why should I improve? I'm already good. And I had that growing up, and Georgia has that a little bit too, or has had that. She's more open to it now. But she just had so much. She had confidence, is what it was.
Confidence is good.
Yeah.
And that's interesting that you mentioned that the flip side of pride is humility, and that's in the book too. That's one of the master values. And I personally, I don't think being too prideful can be dangerous until you start thinking that it makes you better than someone else. I think as long as you realize, and that kind of speaks to, and it's in the book about the abundance scarcity mindset, when you realize there's enough for everyone, and it doesn't have to be comparative nor competitive, that you can be proud of what you produce, exclusive of what anybody else does. So it sounds like you got a little bit into where you were comparing and you were being competitive, and you're right, at that point it can be a little bit not beneficial.
I don't know if dangerous is, I think I said dangerous. I don't know if that's really the right word. There's different levels of it. Like I think the first level is I'm setting myself up for disappointment when I find out that someone, that I'm not the best. It's just a little heartbreaking, Oh, I thought I was the best. So that's a very low level of danger. Higher up on that would be where I don't take advice from people. That's not dangerous to anybody really except me, but it's not really dangerous, but it is heading toward that direction. And then I think even the most ultimate dangerous, as far as art goes anyway, isn't still dangerous. It would be like just people just don't like you, because you're such an arrogant person,
Right.
So that when I say dangerous, that's what I mean. It's
right. And when pride goes into thinking better than it is offensive, and it does turn into arrogance. And you mentioned confidence earlier. There's that fine line between confidence and arrogance. And, from when you're raising kids, or you're around kids, or even adults, I actually was listening to something this morning about narcissism and that whole word. And the conversation was going along the lines of confidence. Like, what is the difference in confidence and too confident? And I personally believe it's when you move into arrogance, again, like we were talking about with pride, when you think you're better than somebody else.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, be as confident as you want to be, as long as you leave room for other people to be up there with you.
Yeah. I think there's better than others can be objectively measured. Like, I can jump higher or something like that.
But is higher better?
Well, better at something. If I'm better at getting higher, then yes.
Yeah.
I think that can be a thing. But when it's a matter of screwing up relationships over it to some degree, and I'm not talking about like romantic relations. I'm talking about interaction with other people. That's when I think.
Right.
Yeah. I think there's probably some other stuff too that could be inconvenient, dangerous, or whatever. But yeah, so she got really confident at it, and sometimes she thinks, oh, I can do that. And then like, well, it's maybe not as good as I thought you'd do. I don't want to say that necessarily, but, you know, or maybe she doesn't, maybe it doesn't come out as good as she thinks it's going to be drawing wise, you know, but
which is the most important, like her personal opinion of it.
Right. But yeah. But what's most important to her, if she's working for somebody, it's, you know, what they want is the most important for her. Anyway, but yeah, really just, I never really criticized her on, oh, well, this could be different.
What about things besides art? What about just like being in school or being with friends?
Oh my gosh, she's so much an art person. It's hard to think outside of that. I do remember one time, I don't know if this has to do with pride, but this is the first thing I can think of that doesn't really have everything to do with art. It has something to do. But in second grade, I think, she wasn't really paying much attention in class. And so it turns out she was doodling a lot, which is what I did all of you know, through college, first grade through college. I just doodled all the time. And so she was kind of getting called on the carpet for that. And so one time I was driving home with her, and, you know, she's like 6 or 7 or whatever. And I said, so what's going on? And, well, I doodle. And I said, I'm not going to tell you what you're thinking, but here's my experience in that. It's like I would be in class and I'd get this idea of something, oh, I'd love to draw that. If I don't draw it now, I'm going to forget about it. So I'll try to draw it while I'm supposed to be paying attention. Well, first of all, the doodle didn't come out that great because I can't put my whole effort into it.
Right.
And then I miss out on class, meaning I have more homework that night, meaning I don't get to draw as much in the evening. And so nothing really great comes out of it. But I realized later, and I started thinking about this before this came up, because I had a feeling it was going to come up several years before it came up, because I thought she was going to be like me. So I was like, okay, how do I handle this? So how will I handle this if it comes up? So what I told her is, you know, for if you have that, and I'm not saying you do, but if you have that, oh, I have this idea, I got to put it down right now, or I'm going to forget it. So don't worry about it. If it is a great idea, it will come back to you later, and you don't have to worry about it. So if you feel the urge to doodle, just realize you can do it later. You're not going to forget it.
Did that help her?
I don't know, because a week later, the teacher said, oh my gosh, she's doing so much better. She didn't doodle at all. So I asked Georgia, hey, did that help? She goes, no, I just decided.
Right.
She goes, I don't think she even remembered what I told her, so I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, you
but
never
she just
know.
Didn't know it, yeah.
But I thought that was kind of funny. It's like, no, I just decided to go in. And then from that point on, she got really irritated when anybody disrupted class. So it kind of went the opposite direction.
That's so interesting, because I'm a writer, and I have that happen all the time. What thought comes, and it's like, if I don't write it down, it's going to go
do it now.
But I have never had that. My creativity has never come through in art, so I've never ever felt compelled to like had a visual idea that I was afraid that I couldn't capture. That's really interesting to hear that that's how your mind works.
Well, in that thing I told her, to be honest, I don't even know if it's true.
Oh.
I really don't. I don't like, don't worry, it will come back to you.
Yeah, I was wondering when you were saying that.
I think logically it's true. If it's that great of an idea, it's just a matter of time before it comes back, but I don't really have any proof or even really evidence of it.
So maybe
I said it kind of in a hopeful faith, you know, but it seemed to work because she is not short on ideas.
Good.
She was my guinea pig for my hypothesis.
Good. You know, one thing about raising a child, to be proud of their own efforts and production outside of what anyone else thinks of it, is that it can help diminish their seeking of approval from others. If they're able to have that little voice in their own head that says, hey, that was pretty good and I'm pretty proud of that, and they don't really care what anybody else thinks, it can diminish all of the problems, I believe, that come from when kids are reaching out, trying to behave and be someone that they think someone else likes. And sometimes I've learned in talking with parents, sometimes that's to the detriment of the parents. Like, the parents want the children seeking their approval if they're trying to control them.
Oh, yes. I've toyed with that emotion before, and I don't think I've ever given in on it, but I was like, okay, I kind of a power trip,
You mean wanting her to seek your
I want some
approval?
importance,
Yeah.
So, but I'm used to it now, so I don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I don't think I do it.
I think I personally think that part of our job as parents is to be able to give that up and let them be proud of themselves. In
Yeah.
fact, I say in the book that I used to always say to my kids, "Oh, I'm so proud of you," but then I would segue into, "Aren't you proud of yourself?"
Yeah, I picked that up at the in the book. It's like I gotta remember to do that, and because I tell her all the time that I'm proud of her, and like one of my best friends, I say, "Oh, Georgia did this. Oh man, I'm so proud of Georgia." She goes, "You're proud of Georgia? I had no idea." And so Georgia knows about that, but
Aw.
so but yeah, telling her you should be proud of yourself. I don't do that. I'm pretty sure she is anyway.
Yeah.
But it doesn't hurt to mention it. So yeah.
No. And another thing is, when you can keep it in your head and not have to let it come out of your mouth all the time, like when you can feel really good about any aspect of your life, whether it's being a good artist or a good business person or a good friend or whatever it is that you're really good at, to be able to measure the spaces and the times and the relational times when it's okay to share that and when maybe you keep it inside, like you were talking earlier about your art and being better than someone else or not. And sometimes if you've won 12 gold medals, let's say in an art competition, and you're in the presence of someone who just won their first one, maybe that's not
Look how
the
many
time
I've got.
to
I
say,
remember seeing
I
that in the
know, I
chapter.
won 12, Yeah, so helping our kids, that's a delicate little dance to learn, and helping our kids as they're out, as we watch them interact and relationally respond to other people in their lives, to help kind of make them aware of when other people are doing it and how that feels. And if we do it, because of course we all make mistakes too,
Sure,
but
yeah.
to point out to a child when they've witnessed you do it, that maybe there was a better way to handle that. I think it's important to help kids learn to, yes, be proud of yourself, but don't make it necessarily the center of every conversation.
That being better or whatever, she, wherever she goes, she's almost always the best artist, unless it's someone older.
Wow.
And and I say
cool.
best by a subjective viewpoint, but usually she's deemed to be the best one. But because she practices all the time.
Started when she was 2. Come on.
So, but as a result of that, she'll see someone else drawing and she'll say, "Oh, Daddy, it was bad." I'm like, "Okay, Georgia, nobody practices as much as you do, so just go ahead and get used to that." But when someone shows you their artwork, you know what to do, right? And she goes, "Well, I don't say it's bad." I said, "That's right."
Yes.
But
you get a win on that one, Dad.
yeah, I know. I was like, "Oh, I'd be so embarrassed if she said that." And I decided to boost it up a little bit. So I said, if you see someone drawing, find something that you can give them a genuine compliment for. For instance, let's say she draws cartoons a lot. Let's say they're drawing cartoons and their layout is terrible, their colors are terrible, their line work is jagged, they're inking or whatever. But look at that, they put a little sparkle in the eyes. Then if you even kind of like that, then you latch onto that and say, "Look, you put the sparkle in the eyes," and just give them something. Because that's how you got good. You got good because of me and Mommy and Grandma and Grandpa and everyone telling you what you did good, and then that made you want to do it more, and then you got better at other stuff too. And that's how you make people better.
And that's
I think
such a beautiful life lesson, Eric, not just for art, right? Because
it helps everybody.
Every
really.
human in the world has something that they're good at or something they're bringing to the table, some talent that makes them desirable. And to be able to assess other humans, not just art, and be able to find, like, they really pissed you off and they stole your purse and they tripped you, whatever.
Right.
But they're really good with animals, or, to be able to find...
Well, they have good taste in purses.
They are in good... Yeah, that, right? You can find that. Hey, at least she has good taste in purses. That's right. That's a good one. If you don't mind, can we switch to Fortitude?
Yeah, sure.
The other chapter that we're here to talk about today.
Yeah.
Cool. to me, you know, it's interesting being out talking about fortitude means a lot of things to a lot of different people. And one thing I've learned is that it's not a word people use that much. So for a lot of people, they have to kind of sit and think about it before they even know what fortitude means to them. But to me, it's, you know, in the field of positive psychology, there's a lot of research about resilience, which is, if you take two people to whom the exact same horrible circumstances occurred, one might wallow in it for the rest of their lives and one might rise above it. And what is that difference? And that's kind of what fortitude is to me. It's learning to look for the lesson in the darkness, to understand that nothing that happens to us stops us until we decide to let it.
Sure, yeah.
And helping kids understand that. You know, I was at a Glennon Doyle conference 2 weeks ago in New York, and they talked about how my generation of parenting, the memo we were given was protect them at all cost.
Yeah.
Don't ever let a drop of rain land on their head. Don't ever let anything bad ever happen to them. And we were raised with that message from commercials and everywhere, and that doesn't serve our kids. That doesn't serve our kids. Being there with them when they fail or when bad things happen to them, and holding space for them to go ahead and feel that and be angry or sad or whatever, but then help them see that they can rise above it and point out to them when they have, so that they can learn how strong they are.
Sure, yeah.
I think, again, back to positive psychology, Marty Seligman's book, The Optimistic Child, he claims that he can vaccinate kids against depression just by helping them see the light at the end of every tunnel.
I could see that, yeah.
Can you think of any example of anything that George has gone through? I guess your divorce had to be a challenge for her.
Well, she was 2.5, and so she really doesn't
really know
remember.
any different.
Yeah, I mean, to a baby, everything's normal.
And she's had a lot of success with art, obviously, but is there any aspect of her life that...
The one thing I can think of, as far as is she strong enough to go through it, was something when she was pretty little, like 3, maybe, I think 3. We'd go out for a walk and just around the neighborhood. And this isn't probably as big of a deal as, huge of an example as you had in mind, but, excuse me, I remember going through it. At the time, she loved climbing upstairs. Climbing upstairs, going back downstairs, climbing upstairs, going back downstairs. So we were walking around the neighborhood, and there's this sidewalk up to someone's front porch. Every time she walked by one that had stairs, she wanted to climb up the stairs. And it was only like 4 steps up. She'd go up and then go back down. She was like 3. Loved stairs. Well, one time, she's going down the stairs and trips, just And my first reaction was, I think she's okay. She looks okay. She might have gotten scuffed up, but no broken bones or anything like that, not that big. And my first thought was, what do I do? Do I rush down and try to help her and go, oh no, are you okay? Because what I think will happen on that is that's going to signal her to cry.
Right.
Or do I just act like it was nothing and risk coming off as callous and that I don't care?
Right. I
decided to go with the latter and just be prepared to come in if something happened. And so I stood there. I didn't like flinch and go right toward. I mean, I was only like 5 feet away anyway, but I didn't like dive for. I didn't go. No, I didn't make any sound. And she immediately kind of raised herself up and goes, "I'm okay." And I said, "Okay, I just want, are you sure you're fine?" And then I could ask, "Are you good? Are you all right?" and stuff like that. But I didn't want to. As far as I was concerned, I didn't want to put that alarmist, something bad happened,
Right.
now I got to go off the rails.
Right.
When it might not be the big deal. Assess it and then see if it's a big deal. Don't just assume I fell, I skinned my knee, now it's a big deal.
That's actually a perfect example.
Okay.
It's physical.
But it's a long time ago. It was like 8 years ago. Whatever,
No, but
9.
still, it's such a foundation for all of the other things that are going to happen in their lives, and to help them learn that the circumstances you can't control, perhaps.
Sure, yeah.
The people, what other people around you are going to do, or what's going to happen in a moment or a situation that you can't control, but you can always control how you react and respond to it. And helping kids understand that if they do have a meltdown in a situation, to kind of talk them through afterwards what really happened and what their response was and what their response could have been. And there's always so many variables, but to understand that they get to choose how they respond, even when they can't choose what happened. That empowers them, hopefully, if you do it enough times, in the next one to maybe be thinking that way. And okay, I don't like what happened here. I don't like what he said or what she did. Can't control that. But I can decide if I'm going to fire back at them, or if I'm going to walk away, or if I'm going to try to find something to kind of smooth it over. So I think that with every kid, because before they're verbal, they're physical. So I think it starts with every parent-child relationship, that's where it starts, is am I going to make them think that this is a bad thing or a good thing, and help them understand their place in that.
Yeah, I feel comfortable with that aspect. I don't feel as comfortable with my past of, and not that there was much to speak of her dealing with other kids. So I get along pretty well with everybody, and I don't have a problem with it. I don't get annoyed very easily and stuff like that. But she has had some issues with conflict with other kids, mainly her age. With older people, she's easier, even just a couple of years older, gets along with them better. But yeah, people her age or younger, she can get into kind of conflicts, and I haven't been there. I hadn't been part of that.
Right.
Either she was at school or she was with her mom or something like that. And so I never had that opportunity to say, okay, well, here's how you.
But you will have, because she's only 12.
I guess so. But the thing is, her mom's a therapist.
Oh, cool.
So it's like, well, at least, we got someone on that end who can, and when you mentioned, did I do the right thing? Is there something I could do better? I've heard her mom say things like that.
Cool.
So I'm like, okay, well, yeah, she's got that taken care of.
Cool.
So, but it's not really something I'm involved with myself.
Well, one thing I remember from when my kids were little, and then believe it or not, our time's almost up and we got to wrap this up. But when my kids would come home from school, it started about 12, so be thinking about this, when they were in junior high and high school, they would come home just raging about something, whether it was something that their child had done or something a teacher had done or just a circumstance that they thought was unfair. And that mama bear or daddy bear thing just steps in where you want to solve it and you want to save them. And that was where my mind went instantly, was what can I do about this? And I don't remember if I read something or if someone said something, but somehow I knew that sometimes you just got to vent. Oh, I think it was from my grandmother. Oh. Sometimes you just got to vent. And sometimes that's all they're doing is just venting. And for me to just be the space for them to share it. And then I would always ask, is this something that you want me to get involved in? Because I wanted them to know I was there for them. And I wanted to know that if they ever did need my help and it felt out of their control, that I would be there for them. Yeah. But I didn't want to jump in and imply that they couldn't handle it themselves. So I would always say, is this something you want me to handle? And 99% of the time, they did not want me to get involved. They were just venting. And then having the conversation about, so what can you do about it? Is there anything you can do about it? Is this maybe somebody that you just need to spend less time with? Or what was your role in the teacher getting mad, or things like that? Just opening the conversation, having that conversation in a safe space where they weren't being judged and not trying to fix it, and then pointing out when they came up with a solution that made sense. And that empowers them and makes them strong and know that they can, for whatever that's worth. Because you got a lot of that ahead of you with junior high and high school coming up. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you
so much, Eric, for being here today to talk about these. If you don't mind, you want to take a few minutes and tell everybody, haven't even talked about what you do and how you do it and how they can find you, and if anybody wanted to work with you, what that might look like.
Yes. So my name's Eric Hanson. My website is Eric Hanson Artwork. That's Eric with an E, Hanson with an Hanson. I'm sorry, Eric with a C. They all start with an E, don't they? Eric Hanson Artwork. Eric with a C, Hanson with an Hanson. And I'm kind of known for painting local landmarks, icons, architecture, things like that. And if you look on my website, erichansonartwork.com, Facebook, Eric Hanson Artwork, and Instagram, Eric Hanson Artwork. And if you need to commission something or just want to buy something from the website, that's fine. But that's what I do.
Yeah, I love your style so
thank you.
much. I have
Well, you're
commissioned
one of my clients.
an
yes.
original Eric Hanson that I'm so very proud of. And you do murals, right?
I do. Yes, I do murals. Yes.
Do you do them inside and out, or just one or the other?
I'm open to all of them, but I have to look and see what they are first.
So talented.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's not even forget the garage door you did that went viral, right?
The what?
The garage door that you did.
Oh, the garage door for
My
for,
goodness,
yeah.
that was incredible. It featured
big text on
text,
someone's
yeah.
garage door, and it went on Fair Park's Instagram page. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. So it's easy for people to find you.
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much
Christine.
for sharing your time with me today. I appreciate it so much. And thank you guys for being here. I'll see you next time.